How about that new logo, man? That new logo. Damn, you just wanted to shut me up? Is that what we're doing? Welcome back. That's my welcome back. You just throw a video over? How about that new logo? How about that Sports Empire logo? That looks fire. Welcome back. It's so fun to be back with my man, the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. How you feeling, Kyle?
I'm good. You know,
it's been too long. It's
football season, so it's always a good time. Can't wait.
Ezekiel Elliott getting signed to the Pats. Uh-oh. It's your man's.
I got locked out of my shares already, man. We'll talk about it. We're introducing people, man. Jesus. Godfrey, just calm down. I'm just
excited about Ezekiel's
Kyle in like 2 weeks. It's been too long. THEEGODFREY, the Godfrey. Welcome back. Sideline to Sideline, the old pregame and pigskin crew. Missing a guy tonight. He's a little sick. He'll be back next week. My man Tim. But Godfrey, what's popping, man? How are you feeling tonight?
I'm doing all right. I'm just waiting for the first Ezekiel Elliott belly shirt sighting in New England training camp.
It didn't happen already?
Maybe it did. Is that allowed in Belichick world?
It might not be. Yeah. It might not be.
I feel like Bill's kind of, lined up a little bit. I'm sure he's fine.
And then joining us, I feel like it's been since the fact or fiction show. I've not been on a show with Freddie. How you feeling tonight, Freddie? The CEO of Sports Empire Network is gracing us with his presence. What's popping, y'all?
Hey, brother, it's going good. Just happy to be on and just ready to do what we do here at Sports Empire with a lot of great content, a lot of great analysts, and we ready.
Wait, we have good analysts?
Yeah, now.
I'm just kidding. I can't wait to get into what's going on tonight. We got NFL talk. Dalvin Cook signed with the New York Football Jets. Ezekiel Elliott signed with the New England Patriots. Before we talk about how they fit with each team, I think the easier question would be, which running back do you think means more to the team they signed? So be really careful with this one, guys. And I'll start because I'm going to give the ridiculous answer, and that's okay. I think Ezekiel Elliott means more to the New England Patriots and with that signing than Dalvin Cook means to the New York Jets. And I'll tell you why. I think by week 7, if you went from week 7 to week 17, week 18, Ezekiel will have more carries than Dalvin Cook will. I think Breece Hall is a future superstar, and I think the Dalvin Cook thing is there for depth just in case there is a situation where, Breece Hall's not 100%. You don't want to rush him back from the torn ACL. But I think Zeke signing there to be in a timeshare, a 50-50 split with Ramondre Stevenson is what I believe is going to happen in New England. Whereas I think by week 7, you're going to see a 70-30 carry split with Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. So that's my personal opinion, and I know I might be on the ledge by myself. Godfrey is already taking shots at Ezekiel Elliott, talking about the belly shirt. Yep. Godfrey, I'll go to you next. Who do you think means more? What signing means more, Zeke or Cook?
I think the Cook signing does. A depth piece for $8 million if he hits incentives. Dalvin Cook does get injured once a year, so maybe they're looking at that. But I think the Jets have shown they can draft in the last couple of years, but they haven't shown they can put a winning football team together. They just do shit that doesn't make sense, and this makes no sense to me. 0 sense. I could feel the headline coming on now. Jets young core players upset at Aaron Rodgers imports as they lose 2 games in a row. Definitely going to happen, because if they lose 2 games in a row, They're going to go to coach like, why is he going to Randall Cobb all the time? Why is he going to Alan Lazard? He won a Dalvin Cook here, and we lost 2 games in a row. We have the offensive rookie of the year. Brees Hall was good until he got hurt. I just don't, Israel Adebakanda, I'm definitely butchering his last name, was a great 5th-round pick, right? I just think the Jets are like, fuck it. We could do $8 million we could spend it on that. Why not get someone to help out CJ Mosley, who they spend a lot on, or some of these other position players that need help on defense, right? Why not do that? Let's get a running back. Let's bolster our team by doing that. I don't think it's going to do a whole lot for him. I think it's just going to muddy the waters.
See, that's interesting that you say that. And I'm going to go right to Godfrey. I'm sorry, right to Kyle next. But it's interesting that you say that it'll muddy the waters, because what I look with the New York Jets is I wish they would have spent that $8 million on their offensive line.
That too.
I wish they would have went out and spent that $8 million protecting Aaron Rodgers. Kyle, being the resident New England Patriot fan, you had your cake for all these years. It's now time to sit out and have your damn carrots. Question for you.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott or Dalvin Cook? Which signing means more?
I mean, not to sound like a homer, I do like the Zeke Elliott signing, because when you look at the Patriots, what were the biggest issues that they had? Goal line, blitz pickup from their backfield, short yardage.
Yep.
Zeke Elliott solves all of those. Of course, the biggest thing with him is going to be health. That's most players. But I just think a 1-2 tandem with him, Ramondre Stevenson, could work really well in New England. I'm kind of like Eugene on this one with Dalvin Cook, that I'm a big fan of Brees Hall. I feel like the Dalvin Cook signing, yes, Brees Hall's coming off an injury, so he definitely works. But with Aaron Rodgers coming in, he's not the same Aaron Rodgers he was 10 years ago when, he could scramble outside, make a lot of plays. Like, he can still do that, but it takes a little bit more out of him. So my worry is, if you bring in Dalvin Cook and Aaron Rodgers is getting battered behind the old line that a lot of Jets fans say is an issue, how effective is Dalvin Cook going to be? So I'm fully on board with Ezekiel Elliott, even though I know a lot of people think he's washed or whatever, but I feel like in the New England system, he will be more effective.
Freddie, are you saying Zeke will be more effective in New England like me and Kyle, or are you jumping on the Godfrey branch and going with Dalvin Cook?
I mean, effective in what? I mean, let's just be honest. New England isn't really going far. I mean, come on, y'all. They have Mac and Cheese as their quarterback. If anybody's going to be more effective, it's going to be Dalvin Cook. And I'm going to tell you why. Gene, I'm glad you brought up offensive line. Dalvin Cook is going to be somebody that can help Aaron Rodgers dictate the movement of the line. Is going to help protect him more. Because guess what? He don't have to have the ball in his hands as much. He can hand it off to a back that can create a play for you. He can hand it off to a back that can make, they can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can also block a pass block as well to help protect Aaron Rodgers. So we all know that this team is Bruce Hall, they got Dalvin Cook at the running back position. They're stacked all around an offensive position on the football field, outside of the offensive line. Dalvin Cook will have a bigger impact than Zeke Elliott. But I will say Zeke Elliott will make a lot of things easier for Mac and Cheese as well. He will. He's a guy that you can, if you need a first down, that you can hand the ball off to. He's a guy that also can help pass protect as well. We've seen that in Dallas. We've seen him out in the backfield catching passes as well. So he's gonna open that offensive up for Mac Jones as well. But I also believe Dalvin Cook will have a bigger impact with the New York Jets, because it will lead to more winning in New York.
You know what? I know what Belichick likes about Ezekiel Elliott. It's a couple things that he didn't like about Damian Harris. He has more ability to catch the ball out of the backfield than Damian Harris did. He also has a propensity to play through injury, actually, which Damian Harris got injured last year before that. Kyle, you remember that, right? And
yep.
Ramondre Stevenson is a better back than him. I think he's brought in there to complement Ramondre Stevenson. I think if they're being smart in New England this year, they should have a run-heavy scheme. And I think he's a guy that he'll trust in the red zone. Not that they wouldn't charge Stevenson, but I think Stevenson is going to be more of their big play type of guy where he could rip off a 25-yard screen pass, a 20-yard run up the middle, things of that nature, and they're going to counterbalance each other. I see like a 70-30 split coming from them. And if you got 5 touchdowns in a season from Ezekiel Elliott, it wouldn't be wild.
Well, let me take you back to 2010 to 2012 and the New England Patriots. And if you do not know, history repeats itself very, very often. New England Patriots have quietly brought in Mike Gesicki, which a lot of people don't realize that they did. They have Hunter Henry. They've been beefing up their offensive line. They drafted Cole Strange 2 years ago. They've been beefing up their offensive line. They have 2 big power backs. I can tell you right now what they're going to do. They're going to play 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver sets, and they're going to run the ball. You're going to see Devontae Parker and Juju Smith-Schuster on the outside, and you're going to watch them play Hunter Henry and Gesicki on either side, and they're going to make you play 4-3 personnel, which is either going to open up the receivers on single coverage for Mac Jones, or it's going to give you 7 guys in the box, and they're going to play physical with you. Their job is not to try to outscore you in a points race. Their job is to slow the game plan down, control the clock, control the amount of offensive possessions that the other team gets, and to beat you with the running game and good defense. Guys, it's not – I understand that this modern NFL that's happened for the last 5 years has shown you that slinging the ball around the yard works, and it does. Patrick Mahomes does a great job of that. But the ground and pound defensive style football still works in the NFL if it's used right. And I think the New England Patriots can do that. You made a comment about Mac and Cheese, Mac Jones, and their entire setup in New England. I'll tell you right now, New England's going to win more than 7 games. They're going to be there. I strongly disagree with anybody that thinks the New England Patriots are going to be a 5-12 team, not competing for the division. They got players everywhere from Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar in the secondary to Jonathan Jones and Christian Gonzalez at the cornerback position. They got Josh Uche, who's a very good linebacker, Matthew Judon. They have Lawrence Guy. They have defensive players all over the field. And, Trey Flowers is going to be back for them too. I think that the New England Patriots are going to try to beat you by ground and pound, controlling the clock, and playing good defense.
That's a team I love this year, what I like to call a spread buster team. The type of team that you can bet on that just sneaks their way and just destroys the spread.
Yep.
Because they're going to hang around, they're going to get a special teams touchdown here, an interception here, a play here, and you're going to be on the other side of that bet going like, how the F did that happen? My 3-team parlay just got blown up. Watch out for watch out for the Patriots. I'm not saying they're going to be like, an AFC contender, but they're definitely going to be, they're that type of person that if you let them hang around, they could steal a game from you.
Bet the under in a lot of Patriots games. I'm going to tell you right now, Philadelphia Eagles need to watch themselves going in there week 1. I've been saying that for weeks. Mm-hmm. That's going to be and they're going to try to run the ball early versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia is built to attack the quarterback. Yeah. Watch the run game in that game. Watch the ground and pound. Watch them control the clock and watch them play good defense. I'm telling you, Pats in the under is going to be the bets this year. Freddie, any extra thoughts you want to add? You've been quiet.
Hey, I'm just going to tell you this. This is just extra weapons for that bad man in New York for another example, for another reason for him to lead that team to the promised land. And we're going to see a heck of a season by him.
If they don't have a good season, will we be able to put in the grave and to rest that the reason Aaron Rodgers couldn't win is because he didn't get weapons? If he doesn't win this year, that needs to go in the grave. 100%. Unless he's injured.
I completely disagree with you.
He's got the weapons, right?
So do you think his weapons this year are better than what they were 3 years ago in Green Bay?
That's what everybody said. He never had any weapons at Green Bay. That's the narrative.
First of all, they never drafted first-round weapons. He had Devontae Adams. He had Randall Cobb. He had Aaron Jones. He had a decent amount of weapons in Green Bay. They didn't add a second number 1 receiver when they could have. They should never have drafted Jordan Love. They should have added an offensive weapon to help win football games. But I disagree with you completely. We can put that to rest. We can't put that to rest. If the offensive line doesn't hold up, none of this matters. If he has no time in the pocket, none of this matters. Now, I think the offensive line will hold up. I watched the Packers play the Philadelphia Eagles with 3 offensive linemen out. 3 of them all sitting. And Aaron Rodgers just sat at the line and just kept throwing slants, flats, and carved up that Eagles defense. I remember it. I was there. Just letting you know, the ultimate builder of an offensive line is a quarterback that gets the ball out quick. And I think Aaron Rodgers can do that. I actually think the Jets win that division comfortably. I really believe that. But we'll talk about the AFC East and the NFC East next week. Let's talk about coaches. See, the one thing I thought you were going to bring up, Godfrey, I thought you were going to segue me perfectly, is if they don't win this year, can we talk about Robert Saleh being on the hot seat? Because I think there's a lot of coaches in the hot seat.
Oh, he's on the hot seat.
I think there's a lot of – I think there's a record amount of coaches on the hot seat this year. I almost feel like there's more coaches on the hot seat this year than there are that aren't on the hot seat, right? Like you can go through divisions and just for fun, right? We'll talk about the AFC North because we'll be talking about that today. Tomlin's probably not on the hot seat because he wins every single year. But you can look at it this way, right? Kevin Stefanski is definitely on the hot seat for the Cleveland Browns. John Harbaugh has to be someone on the hot seat if they don't win with everything around him. We go to the NFC North. You got – listen, I never thought they should have hired him. Eberflus has to be on the hot seat for the Chicago Bears after
already?
100% has to be. The hot seats, listen, Wayne Curtis said it perfectly. You have a lot of the guy in Dallas, Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
Brandon Staley's on the hot seat.
Anybody who takes a Dallas job, it's a ticking time bomb unless you win a Super Bowl. And let's be honest, with Dakota Rain Prescott, as Gene likes to say, it's really hard to get into that position to win a Super Bowl. He showed it last year in that Niners game. But, he should – there's a lot of people on the hot seat. Saleh should be on the hot seat, and I think Joe Douglas is on the hot seat. You know why? Because, listen, it might work out for him, but let's be honest. They're trying to make up for the Zach Wilson mistake and other mistakes they did make outside of the excellent ones they made in Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, etc. by throwing a Hail Mary right now, and they're trying to save their job.
Let me argue with you there for 1 second, right? The Zach Wilson pick would most notably get a GM fired to drafting a bad quarterback, number 2 overall.
Yeah.
But the one thing I respect about what Joe Douglas did is he admitted that mistake early and didn't try to keep forcing Zach Wilson down our throat like a lot of GMs do. You make a mistake, you admit it, and you fix it. Freddie, can I ask you a question? Freddie's about to take his headphones off. Freddie, what coaches do you think are on the hot seat this year in the NFL? And I swear to God, if you say Bill Belichick, I'm throwing you off the damn show.
I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going that far, but I think Ron Rivera's on the hot seat. And we can see it. We see it. Like the comments that he made about Eric a few weeks ago, veteran coaches don't make, you guys. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of players that complain about a lot of things, but guess what their coach don't do? They don't air out their dirty laundry. Ron Rivera sees a new ownership in there. We heard the comments talking about, we still had a chance to make the playoffs. Those things are just starting to leak out. And let's just be honest, this man has not really been relevant since the Cam Newton days. What is Ron? I understand that he was big. He had an important piece to their Washington Commanders football team, do with all the things that their horrible owner did. He was the guy that kind of said, okay, I'm going to answer those tough questions. We understand that. That guy's on the hot seat. Mike McCarthy, just like Godfrey just said, he's on the hot seat. He's on coaching America's team. We all know the expectations that they've been waiting on for the last 28 years, but they have not lived up to expectations. He's on the hot seat. Sean McVay with the Rams. Outside of that Super Bowl, we all know how great offensive minded that he is. But I mean, there comes a time and day where you have to show us that, you're still that dude. You still have Matthew Stafford as your quarterback. We understand he had a little neck injury last year. You still have Cooper Kupp as your wide receiver. You still have Aaron Donald down there. You need to make some noise happen. We need to see that you're that offensive guru that we all think that you are. He's on the hot seat. There's a lot of coaches that's on the hot seat. And I'm going to say the coaching for Cleveland, hey, no more excuses, brother. You have Deshaun Watson. You have Amari Cooper. You have that defense. You have Nick Chubb. It's time to make some things shake. And we're going to talk about the AFC North soon, but it's time to make some things shake. Those are the coaches on the hot seat.
I agree with you, brother. I agree with everything you said. Kyle, what do you think? Kyle, what coaches are on the hot seat to you? And then we'll all discuss them, right? Like I know you were about to hop in there. I just want to discuss them when we all get them on the table.
Yeah, for me, I think the obvious ones are Rivera because they brought in Bieniemy. They obviously brought him in for a reason. It seems like that's going to be Bieniemy's path to a head coaching job. And then the way Rivera handled the whole Bieniemy being too intense, I feel like Rivera's days are numbered. Saleh, I hate the fact that he's on the hot seat because I think he's a good coach. But when you do what you did to bring in Aaron Rodgers in that New York market, they are going to expect big things right away. Even though I'm not necessarily a believer in Rodgers getting them to that point. But if it doesn't happen, we know Saleh's going to be the scapegoat. Freddie brought up McVay. I mean, McVay basically left the job and then turned around and came back. So even if it's not the organization putting him on the hot seat, he may just up and leave again if they have another bad season.
Oh, yeah.
Well, McVay, they sold their soul to get that Super Bowl. They gave away all their picks.
Exactly. And it's like, why should he stay?
McVay wants to get out of there because he knows the team's not built for the future. He got his Super Bowl and he goes, he's trying to pull the Sean Payton. And
exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
I like to call it the Nick Saban as well. I mean, before that, listen, I don't think he's on the hot seat. I think he'll make his own hot seat. He's not man enough to take to eat his own medicine, so to speak. I think McVay will definitely go out. I'm surprised he's back this year. Saleh, he's on the hot seat, and
I don't think Robert Saleh should be on the hot seat, though.
He shouldn't, but you hear comments like this in Hard Knocks. Quarterbacks change locker rooms. You heard he said that's a direct quote by him. Now, he's right, but it sounds like to me that they think there needs to be a locker room change, right? And they need a leader in there. So they're putting all their eggs in the basket. The
side of the ball needs a leader change. The defensive side of the ball is fine. I think that defense is going to be even better than they were last year. I don't know how you guys haven't mentioned Smith and Smith production because both those guys need to be out of there. Arthur Smith and Dennis Smith, both those guys in the NFC South need to be gone.
Who the hell is right? Oh, you mean Dennis Allen? I know you're
Dennis Allen, sorry. Arthur Smith and Dennis Allen need to be out of here. They might fire the entire NFC South division outside Frank Reich.
Brandon Staley's got to be on the hot seat, right? I mean, that guy. Well, I would have fired him after last year.
On the screen.
How is he not fired after last year? Like if you have a lead like that in the playoffs, you are gone unless you have such a resume that you could speak to. I don't know how he's there. One guy Rivera should be on the hot seat, but I'll say this phrase often. And sometimes I'll get it wrong about it, but I do feel the game has passed him by. Some of his methods aren't applicable anymore to these players, and I don't think he gets the response that he's gotten in the past. And I think, quite frankly, he's overrated. And
he'll be the first coach fired.
Yeah, and you're seeing by the way he's carrying himself when he's cutting out the legs of his new coordinator. I mean that makes no sense. I mean,
it does make sense. It makes sense completely. He's trying to
not if he wants to win.
He knows Bieniemy's coming for his job.
100%.
He's trying to do self-preservation.
Harbaugh's not on the hot seat. I heard someone say he's Teflon, and I think Harbaugh's tenure.
If they finish last in that division, like I think they're, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if they finish where I think they're going to finish in the AFC North this year, I'm telling you right now, Harbaugh will be on the hot seat.
He'll be on the high. You ain't got to fire him. He has that Andy Reid type of leash. I'm telling you right now, like he really does for that organization. He established a culture there. They'll give him a reset. He will be on the hot seat, but I don't think if they finish last, I don't think he's canon. I think the only way he's gone is if he chooses to leave and takes a break from football. I don't think they'll fire him because of how connected he is to that organization and the success he's had with them.
It's funny because you look around the NFL, it's probably easier to say the coaches that are safe than the coaches that are not hot on the hot seat. Like Dan Campbell's definitely on the hot seat. We're going to talk about the NFC North right now. If the Detroit Lions finish third in that division and don't make the playoffs, he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah. People, listen, they had a really good story last year, but let's be honest. They started slow. They didn't make the playoffs. It ended well. Everybody loved the way they beat the Packers at the end of the season. But that is not by all measures a successful season. It's an improved season. But if you start out slow, if they start out like that again, you might see them fired midseason. To be honest, it could happen.
But I mean, can we agree? Because Steve put that Vrabel could be on the hot seat. I think it'd be crazy.
No,
if Tennessee was looking to move on from Vrabel.
I think that would be absolutely insane. I think you have to look internally at your general manager. You want to talk about a guy that's trying to make a steak dinner with, ground beef and grade E food. Like, he does not have the ingredients on the plate to make a steak dinner. Mike Vrabel does not deserve to be on the hot seat. Yeah. He has made wine out of water with Ryan Tannehill, who was basically getting thrown out of the league. They've had one wide receiver there in the last 5 years. It was A.J. Brown. They traded him away for a bag of Doritos.
I think Vrabel is a highly underrated coach. And like I said, last year they had a lot of injuries. The last 2 years I looked up, I'm like, how the hell are they the number one seed? Or what the? Like, it's like they sneak in on you. But, listen, man, that's one of the Belichick disciples that went on to coach well. I just think he's
not the only one.
There's
McDaniels. We forgot to talk about him. McDaniels is on the damn hot seat. McDaniels does not make it through the season. When the Las Vegas Raiders start 1-7 this year, McDaniels is going to get fired.
The Raiders are the worst.
Because Mark Davis is a terrible owner. He may keep Josh McDaniels and blame. I don't know.
Can we get a
He's
graphic?
Still blaming Rich Bisaccio.
I want a picture of Mark Davis' haircut up on the screen right
That's
now.
got to be – I'm not kidding with you. That has to be the most – there's a lot of firings in the NFL, a lot of – we talk about this all the time with head coaches where race comes into play. But, how they did not give Rich Bisaccio another season in Vegas after dragging that team to the playoffs, after everything that happened, and they hired Josh McDaniels and then said, it takes time after he had a terrible season. Wait, Rich Bisaccio, who drugged that team through John Gruden, through Henry Ruggs to the playoffs, and was one of the closest teams to beating Cincinnati. They were at the 12-yard line.
Yeah.
They added Devontae Adams, and they got worse.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, just a guy that shouldn't be a head coach. But what's surprising me is that Jim Irsay was such a weirdo that his wife was like, you know what, Raiders, you're cool with that. Like Mark Davis comes over for dinner with that bowl haircut. He looks like an extra in Beetlejuice. Like I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm cool with that guy. That guy's cool. I guess he didn't take long dumps in her bathroom, but I just know that franchise lined up next to Arizona Cardinals right now. Who's worse? I don't know. I mean, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Raiders because they just have a lineage that's generational. Al Davis started declining, and then his son took it over, and Al Davis was more of a pure football guy, and I just think it declined because he just, for health reasons, and as you get older, you're not as sharp as you used to be. But Mark Davis ain't his dad. And, the problem is when you have a football team like that that's perpetually bad.
Al Davis stunk too. Outside the 80s, Al Davis was terrible too.
He did, but he also had about 2 decades and a half of football where he was good before that started to happen. I mean, at one point, the Raiders
had John Madden.
He did.
It's like saying Robert Kraft's a great owner because he had Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I don't know if he's a great owner. I mean, you can assume that, but he had Brady and Belichick. What is the owner doing to make that work?
Tom Flores had two Super Bowls under him, more than Madden. Madden retired. Just remember that. I'm not saying he's better than Madden.
I do want to answer Jory's question. She said, "What did I miss?" We were sticking up for Mike Vrabel, Jory. Don't throw anything at me, all right? We were sticking up for Mike Vrabel, saying it's the general manager's fault for anything in Tennessee, not Mike Vrabel. Just to FYI, I don't want Jory throwing something at me. She looks like she got a cannon. She might be throwing something at me if I'm talking about the Titans. I am not talking bad about Titans, Jory.
Yeah, the Raiders, man. There's just so many things they do. Like, why didn't they pick up the 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs, and they decided to get cute.
They started Josh Jacobs in the Hall of Fame game last year. They did not expect him to do it. They were planning on starting Zamir White. And I got news for you. If you're drafting Josh Jacobs in fantasy this year, you better overdraft Zamir White. I don't think he's going to play. I think if he does play, the first sign of injury, he's done. That Raiders team is going to suck so bad this year, and I am for it. I am so for it.
Yeah, that's a team. That's a franchise where if you're a fan, you feel suffocated. They have a bad owner. And the problem is that's one of the common denominators that you can't get rid of easily. So you're screwed if your owner's bad. If you're a Raiders fan, I'm going to allow you to put an SOS out there and jump to other teams. I'm going to officially allow it here on Sideline2Sideline. You can pick any team you want because that franchise is sinking. It's, Gilligan is running your franchise pretty much, okay? Show
my man Steven Chambers, you can bring up the Titans all you want. I just don't want Jory mad at me, all right? Scared of that one.
I have a hot take. I know we're talking about this, but we just talking about the Jets. Hot take. David Balatari, I can't say his name.
Bakhtiari.
Yeah, will be a New York Jet before the season starts. Book it.
Okay. It's not a hot take. I mentioned on Wire to Wire last Wednesday if you listen.
Shh, let me have my moment.
So let's move on to all right. So Kyle,
yes,
where are we starting? AFC, NFC.
Let's go. Well, I have the NFC first, so let's go NFC.
Okay. Here's the over/under for the 4 teams in the NFC North. We'll start with the lowest over/unders and we'll work our way up. We'll go Bears, Packers, Vikings, Lions in order. We'll start with you, Kyle. The Chicago Bears. You got the over? You got the under?
I got the over. I'm expecting a big jump from Fields. I think the DJ Moore pickup is going to be seen probably halfway through the season as one of the bigger pickups during this offseason. I think the offensive line will be improved. The defense, it is what it is. I think the defense will be fine. And in that division, I'm expecting, Green Bay to take a step back, which we'll get into. But I just think everything's kind of working out for Chicago, especially after last year where there's a lot of questions about the direction of the team. I think this offseason kind of quieted a lot of that. Now we just have to see it on the field. And obviously, like you brought up before, Eberflus is there running the show. I think if it doesn't work, he's probably going to be the reason why, him holding it back. But looking at the talent on the team, I feel like 8 wins should be reachable. So I would take the over.
I'll tell you right now, I think one of the most underrated signings of this offseason is Tremaine Edmonds signing there to play linebacker.
Yeah.
I love that signing. That man looks like he was built in a linebacker factory, and he's going to play middle linebacker for that team. I can't wait to see that. TJ Edwards went over there. We know him in Philadelphia very, very well. Yannick Ngakoue is going to be one of their defensive ends. Mm-hmm. I think their defense will be fine. They got Jaquan Brister, Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson. They're loaded on the defensive side of the ball, and Eberflus is a defensive coach. You remember he came from the Indianapolis Colts. What he did in Indianapolis was really build up Darius, a.k.a. Shaq Leonard, to being one of the best linebackers in football. They bring in Tremaine Edmonds. He is an Eberflus guy. I think the offense will be fine. Justin Fields, I think, takes the Hurts leap this year, and I'll go over 7.5 also. Freddie, what do you got? Over under 7.5 wins for the Chicago Bears.
Man, I also have them going over as well. Ryan, the general manager, deserved to be the executive year, in my opinion. What he did like a lot of teams with a lot of young quarterbacks. He showed his young quarterback that he believes in him and he wants to go out there and win now. I'm not talking about Super Bowl. I'm talking about just win, make it to the playoffs. That'd be a win for Chicago because they've been down in recent years. But you're talking about an organization that spent money. They went out and gave, like you said, the linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. They gave him $72 million. They made the trade. They traded. They gave him. They signed TJ Edmonds after they traded on Roquan Smith last season. Smith is better than Edmund, the defensive line that they needed. But I love the additions that they made. They got DJ Moore in the trade. They brought the quarterback, more leverage. They gave him more pieces on the outside. So I definitely like the additions that they brought to that team by, for one, showing Justin Fields that they believe in him by giving him pieces. But they didn't just go offensive heavy. They also got them weapons on the defensive end as well, because we all know Chicago's always been a defensive-minded team, but they also changed it up on the offensive side as well.
They signed Big Nate Davis on that offensive line, and they drafted, in my opinion, the best offensive lineman in the entire draft. You watch this guy. I'm telling you right now, Darnell Wright could be an all-pro tackle this year. I think he'll be a Pro Bowler this year. The guy's 6'5". He runs like a deer, and he plays left tackle. He's the first preseason game. He's got 3 or 4 complete highlights of pancaking people. He is going to be an absolute stud. I love what Chicago did this offseason. We're all going over 7.5. Godfrey, are you going to be the lone under?
Nope. I think not only will they go, I'll take 7.5 all day. I think the Bears can make the playoffs and compete for the division this year. And I don't think that's why. At all. So
I don't disagree with you at all.
I'm a big Fields fan. Always have been. And to you idiots out there that thinks he can't pass the rock, you're going to get what you think wasn't possible this season. I'm telling you right now, the kid can throw the ball, and they have offensive line, and he's built like a brick shit house. I'm telling you, watch out. I'm just telling you, watch out.
Okay, let's move on to the Green Bay Packers. Somebody tag my man guard a what? Guard a 3, because we're talking about his Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers over and under 7.5 wins. We'll do this in the style of a snake draft. Godfrey over under 7.5 wins for your man Jordan Love, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to take under. I could just see them maybe topping out of 7, but most likely under 7 wins. Listen, there's going to be a drop-off there. They still have some good players on the team. I think Jordan Love can have some potential, and let's see how he plays. I mean, listen, maybe he has some of that Green Bay magic. They just seem to pull quarterbacks out their ass all the time. Maybe this happens again. I don't know. But I will say there's some players that got overvalued based off last year. And I like Christian Watson, but that game against the Eagles and those other games he had where he had a long – I don't – no, he's not the next –
Those other games he had. Well, come on, Godfrey.
I mean, there's certain plays that people watch. Like the one against the Eagles, I mean, yeah, it was a nice play, but was it really, really that important? I mean, if you look at his stats, the most of the production he had, it was a chunk game. Like it wasn't consistent. And I still think he's got a lot of growing to do as a player. And I don't know if his growth is going to really accelerate under Jordan Love like it could under a different quarterback.
Okay. Freddie, over under 7.5 for Green Bay Packers.
Man, I'm going to go under as well. When you lose that bad man that he is, it's just a good enough reason. But not only did they lose him, but they lost some of their defensive pieces as well. They lost their defensive lineman, Jared Reed and Darren Lowry. And then they didn't bring back their wide receiver, which I know in most people, Allen Lazard was not that, he wasn't the number one option, but he was still a young, solid piece. So to me, they lost key pieces. So now you're about to build around Jordan Love, who we've not seen that much action out of since they drafted him. So I have them going under. I mean, I just think right now, Matt LaFleur, this will be the season that he just try to figure things out and see who's if Jordan Love is the guy that he's going to build around for the future. I believe they're going to run Aaron Jones into the ground. I feel sorry for A.J. Dillon. It's going to be the same thing for him. They're going to be the run first team, which is good for Jordan Love because that will be a safety net for him. But I have them going under 7 games in this division on this upcoming season.
I'm actually going to go over on the Packers. I'll be one of the only people probably doing this, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you where I'm at. You talked about the defense. I actually think the defense can be top 5 in the NFL this year. So we're gonna play a game, and it's gonna be called Pro Bowler or First Rounder. Okay, we're gonna look at this Packers defense. Kenny Clark, Pro Bowler. T.J. Slayton, neither. Devontae Wyatt, first rounder. Lucas Van Ness, first rounder. Devondre Campbell, Pro Bowler. Quay Walker, first rounder. Rashawn Gary, Pro Bowler. Jair Alexander, Pro Bowler. Jonathan Owens, not a first rounder or a Pro Bowler. Darnell Savage, a first rounder. And Rasul Douglas has been a Pro Bowler. That defense for the Green Bay Packers is going to be legit. Do not sleep on that defense. They also have Preston Smith. So they're going to have Preston Smith in that role when they're going to play that NASCAR set when they're trying to get after the quarterback. Couple key additions that a lot of people don't know if they don't watch too much college football. They added Luke Musgrave in the draft from Oregon State. The kid's an absolute animal at the tight end position. He can catch the football. He's a Green Bay guy through and through. He's used to playing in the Northwest. He'll fit right in that Green Bay environment. Also, Jaden Reed out of Michigan State. If any team has got a chance to watch him play, it's the Green Bay Packers being right by Michigan. I think that the Packers offense is going to be okay. I will say this. I think that Aaron Jones will take a little bit of a step back, and I think the leading running back on that team will be clock-killing A.J. Dillon. It's a little playoff of old Corey Dillon. But I think A.J. Dillon gets a ton of carries, and I think Jordan Love is serviceable enough for this team to win 8 games. I think they go 8-9. I wouldn't bet on it. I think they're right around that over-under, but I'll go with the Packers over 7.5.
I mean, I have them under 7.5, but
it's okay. I'm good with that.
I'm saying, like, I could see if they got off to a good start, then I could see that being in play. I'm not expecting it because I just don't know what I'm going to get from Jordan Love. But if they started off well, I could see them carrying that throughout the season. I do think even with the 7.5, they may make it interesting late in the year where they have like 6 wins and they might be in a couple of games late. But I just got to go.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick. I have their schedule pulled up just for fun.
Okay.
I want you to tell me a game where they're definitely going to lose in their first 9, right? They play at the Bears. They'll probably lose that game, but I wouldn't say definitely lose it. They play at the Falcons. I think they win that game. They play at home versus the Saints. They play at home versus the Lions. They play at the hapless Raiders. They play at Denver, which would probably be a loss. They play home versus the Vikings, home versus the terrible Rams. Then they play at Kenny Pickett. That's their first 9 games of the season. They could easily go 5-4 in those first 9 games and cruise to 8 wins. I think they go 8-9 or 9-8. I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, that's obviously possible. My word would be as well, if Love struggles out of the gate and they lose some of those games in heartbreaking fashion, then it could kind of snowball and they become maybe a 4-win team or something.
Their schedule definitely gets tougher down the stretch.
Yeah.
They end up playing the Chargers, the Chiefs. Those are 2 losses on the schedule. They got to go play at Carolina. You guys know how strong I feel about Carolina. And they end at the Vikings, and they get the Bears at home the last week of the season.
Yeah. So.
It'd be interesting. I like the over. Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to switch the order up. We did the snake for the first round. I'm going to go first on this one because I love being bold, and I know most of you guys are going to go over. I think the Minnesota Vikings go under, and I don't think this one's that close. I think they go 6-11. I think the Minnesota Vikings are shot. I think Alexander Madison's going to be terrible this year. Jordan Addison's already had 2 massive speeding tickets.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do to rely on Kirk Cousins getting the ball to Jay Jettas and TJ Hawkinson. I don't like the Vikings this year at all. The only thing they did this offseason that I was happy with is they brought Brian Flores in to be the defensive coordinator. I think that'll help them out a ton because you guys know how big of a Flores fan I am. But the Vikings' overall depth chart got way, way worse. I like Jordan Addison, I do. But if you look at the defensive side of the ball, they have guys that me and you wouldn't have that many issues getting open. They're right inside linebackers, Jordan Hicks. He's going to play middle linebacker for them. I don't think he's finished the season in the last 5. Harrison Smith might be 107 years old. Andrew Booth, who is a former first rounder, can't see the field. I want to talk about a bust. I really believe that the Minnesota Vikings are in for a really bad season. So I'm going to go under. Godfrey, where are you going with this one?
I'm going under too. I think their ceiling is 8 wins, and I can see them going under that. I just feel like the Vikings are in a reset year. Last year, Kirk Cousins, they let go of Dalvin Cook. I mean, they didn't really see a future there. Alexander Madison as your number 1. I'm not buying that.
Nope.
I know they drafted a couple kids. They kind of like Ty Chandler. They like the kid from UAB, but he's got a fumbling issue. That they're aged in a lot of positions. They do got TJ Hockenson there, and Kirk Cousins. He's definitely a serviceable quarterback, but I just don't see. There's not really, you got Jettis, you got Justin Jefferson. Okay, that's good, but I don't know if he's not going to be able to carry your team because I don't. What's that defense really going to do? I mean, Flores, he didn't buy the groceries. I know he knows how to cook, but listen, man, he didn't buy the groceries. So
agreed.
So I mean, what's going to happen there? And they're not going to let go of this coach. It's his second year. I think
They also gave Danielle Hunter permission to go seek a trade, and that's their best defensive edge rusher. I just don't like this team at all this year. I think the Vikings are going to be bad. I think they're an easy under, guys. If you're betting, this is something I would bet. I like the under in this a lot.
Yep.
Freddie Fitzsimmons.
Hey, I'm going under as well.
Followers. I'm just kidding.
No, Minnesota didn't have that great of offense off season, if we're being honest. Dalvin Thomas, the receiver, Adam Thielen, the cornerback Patrick Peterson, and Eric Kendricks got paid. Not with Minnesota, somewhere else. They traded their pass rushers to Darius Smith, who had like 10 sacks last year. And then for very little, they cut Dalvin Cook. Those were the heart and soul of that team. Their main guys. Defense was already a problem. They couldn't stop nobody. Scoring with the football was not a problem for them. They had a good offense. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. I mean, good God. I mean, they could put me, they could put Gene, they could put all of us, and we run right through them. They couldn't stop us. Thank God they brought Brian Flores in, so maybe he can tighten up the defense a lot for him. He'll be a big beast. The only good thing that they have going for them, they have Justin Jefferson, the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year. Kirk Cousins, we know who Kirk Cousins is. He have up and he have down season. Alexander Madison and then Rick and Jordan Addison are intriguing replacements for Cook and Thielen, but to me, they're still not a good team. There's too many good teams in that division. I like Detroit, like Chicago. That I believe those two teams will be the head of that division. Those teams will be battling it out for that division. And I just think Minnesota and Green Bay be battling for 3rd and 4th, me personally.
Kyle, what do you got?
I'm going under as well, although I think they might get closer to the 8.5 than
you're a follower.
I mean, look, I like Kirk Cousins. I just don't know about the running back position, and I think it might put too much pressure on Cousins to carry that offense by spreading it out between Hockenson, Jefferson, and Addison. If they had a running back I believed in, I'd actually go with the over, but I think they're going to struggle, and I see them as an 8-win team. Defensively, yes, I like that Flores is there, and they should get an upgrade, but that running back position just worries me too much to think that they could get over 8.5.
I think Kirk Cousins is going to be on the Niners next year. Book it here. Reunited with Kyle Shanahan. They love the show.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
It's a reset year for the Vikings, right? Like they're in a position where if they kept a lot of these players, even letting Danielle Hunter seek a trade, you're gonna have to double down on what you have as a base. And I think the GM's like, I'm not doing that. And you step back. I think Brian Flores was a long-term move. And for their defense, they're going to change their identity as a defense and an offense. And you got Justin Jefferson there. And, the question is, where do you go for quarterback next year? So this is a reset year for him. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish dead last in the division. mean,
I actually agree with you, Godfrey. Kyle, why don't you start us off on the 9.5 Detroit Lions?
So the 9.5 with the Lions is tough because I'm thinking like, do I see them as a 10-win team? I'll actually take the under because I think they probably get. I think they're an 8-9 win team. I'd probably say maybe 9. And like you're banking on Jared Goff having another surprise season like he did last year. You know, they did draft Hendon Hooker, who I'm a big fan of. I would love to see Hendon Hooker at some point this season. But, you know, Goff had a great year last year. I don't know if he could do it 2 years in a row. You know, they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. They also have Montgomery, who they signed from Chicago. So I think the running back room is going to be good. I just don't know if I could buy into Jared Goff repeating what he did last year. I mean, there is definitely talent on that team. You know, St. Brown and Montgomery, like I just mentioned, like him. Goff is too much of a question mark.
I think Jamison Williams sealed this team's fate of going under 9.5. I'm going under 9.5 on the Detroit Lions. And when Jamison Williams is pulled off the field and you're just sitting with Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think they win 9 games. I think they're competing for the division. I think this is one of those really, really close ones. I actually like what they did in the offseason, right? A lot of people don't get what these NFL GMs are doing. The GMs are a step ahead of the media, right? So Jahmyr Gibbs went 12th, and we all thought that was a wild pick. We were all on air, and we thought that was a wild pick. Until I sat down and actually really thought about the pick. What these general managers are doing in the NFL is they're drafting running backs in the first round to get that 5th year of eligibility, to be able to run that running back into the ground and never have to pay him. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be good this year. They have a good offensive line. They have a good defensive line. I love the Jack Campbell pick at middle linebacker to really solidify the middle of that defense. I think the Lions are a good football team, not great. I think they have more that leaves. They have desirable traits they need at the wide receiver position, and I think their cornerback room isn't great. So I'm going to go under 9.5, and I see Freddie shaking his head. So let's see what Freddie's got to say.
I'm shaking my head because Mo's in the comments trolling. Something that he never normally does. So, Mo, don't change your style, sir. I love you the way that you are. This is tough. I have them under as well because I actually have the Bears winning that division.
I love it.
But let's not get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. The Detroit Lions, they are legit. I believe Jared Goff will have a good season because he do have playmakers on the field. And this team also do have a defense. They still got Cameron Sutton. You know, they still got the safety, Gardner Johnson, I believe his name is, and the cornerback, Emmanuel Mosley. And, they have their running game. They have the defense. They have weapons on the outside. I believe the coach – No, Bronze. No, the Bears. We ask him if it's under or over. We're not saying that's the amount of games they'll win. I have the Bears winning that division because I believe Justin Fields, he's going to have his breakout season. I believe just because they got him weapons on the outside, they have a run game, they have a defense. I have Chicago winning about 9 or 10 games, actually. I'm in that division. But I have Detroit under 9 games. I have about 8 games myself. But let's not get it twisted. Detroit is legit. They have pieces on the defensive end and on the offensive end.
Godfrey, finish this out.
I went back and forth on this one. It's tough, right? Like, I think everybody wants to see the Lions do well, except people in their division because they're the lovable losers. But they traded for Denzel Mims, and that's not really working out. Jamison Williams, now he's going to be out for most of the preseason, if not the remainder, with the hamstring. This guy can't catch a cold right now. I mean, he's his own worst enemy when it comes to the gambling thing. And then it's like, hey, they made that pick. It looked like a value pick last year in the draft. But, they made a lot of picks that were under the radar good, so to speak, right? I think they're going to compete for the division. I think I'm going to take the over here. 10 wins at most. There's been a lot of improvement, I think, on the roster and philosophy. So I'm expecting them to carry last year into this season. It just went back and forth because it just seems like a trap almost when you look at this team. But you have Hutchinson on the other end. He was
Kid's
making
a winner. Kid's a
yeah,
winner.
and he wants to be in Detroit because he's from there, and that's huge. I mean, you can't discount that, right? The receiver room, man, it's looking a little rough. I mean, I know they try to kind of patch it up with what happened with Jameis Williams, but I like St. Brown, but is he your number one receiver? I don't think he would be.
Yes, St. Brown's the number one receiver.
No, he is, but I'm saying, do you want him to be your number one? Like,
yes, it's top 15 receiver in football.
Okay, but on other teams, I don't know, man. I just think Jameson Williams was the guy that they wanted to be their number one. That's why they drafted him, and he was going to play.
The same way the Eagles wanted Devontae Smith to be their number one, and then they traded for A.J. Brown. Brown is cut from the same cloth as Garrett Wilson and Devontae Smith. If you don't think that kid can be a number one receiver, you're not watching him play.
I think he can, but I don't think that's going to be enough where he's by himself. I just don't think that's going to be enough to push on.
I agree with that. I think they don't have enough to not like they don't have Hockenson in the room anymore. They did draft Sam Laporta, who I think will be a decent tight end. I think that.
Tight ends though, unless they're special, do they really make an impact year one? Most of the time, they don't.
Sam Laporta is an Iowa tight end though. Iowa tight ends always make an impact.
We'll see. I mean, Jared Goff, does he have a repeat year? I think he can. I think they have a stable system. So I'm going to go over. I think they could get 10 wins. I think, if they're in the NFC, man, they're going to compete for the division. They could be a wild card team. And I just think it will translate. I think that the Lions are finally coming out of the dark days.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the AFC North. We have 4 more teams in this division. Here's your over-unders. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8.5. What does that tell you? Ladies and gentlemen, what does that tell you? For everyone that thinks that Kenny Pickett and these boys are going to be in the basement of this division, setting that over-under 8.5 makes it really easy to go under. What's your thoughts on the Steelers, Kyle? Over-under 8.5 wins.
Vegas knows what they're trying to do here.
Yep.
But in order for them to go under, means Mike Tomlin's not finishing over 500. And after the magic trick he pulled off last year, getting that team over 500, I can't back that up. So I'm going over just for the Mike Tomlin effect. I do think Kenny Pickett will be fine, Najee Harris and all that, but I can't bet against Mike Tomlin. As long as Mike Tomlin's there, I'm booking him for 9 wins somehow. So I'm taking the over.
I don't know how we keep saying somehow. There's only 3 things that are certain in life, ladies and gentlemen. It's death, taxes, and Mike Tomlin finishing above 500.
Yep.
He's never had a losing season. I'm going over with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's a lot of reasons why. So here's a joke. Let me start you with a joke, right? It's not a joke, but I'm going to say something that's going to come off really outlandish. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens will be a top 5 receiving duo in football. I'm telling you right now, both those kids are nice. They added Allen Robinson as a 3rd wide receiver. They upgraded at the offensive line, brought in Isaac Seumalo from the Philadelphia Eagles. They drafted a right tackle, Chikwueze Okorafor. I think that this team as a whole is going to be very good. TJ Watt healthy, Minkah Fitzpatrick healthy. They have the DeMonte Casey, Joey Porter Jr., Alex Highsmith, Elandon Roberts. You know about Elandon Roberts, Kyle.
Yep.
I think the defense is legit. I think the Steelers go way over 8.5 wins. I think the Steelers win 9 wins or more.
And I'm sure Kenny Pickett can actually find Allen Robinson, which Matt Stafford for some reason couldn't do. So
you got Allen Robinson, George Pickens, and Deontay Johnson. I don't know a better trio in football outside of Cincinnati.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, Godfrey, sound like you want to go? Fire away.
I like them for the over. I don't know, man. I'm 50-50 on Allen Robinson. Let's see if Allen Robinson, it was Matthew Stafford, or he's turned into dust. We'll see. But George Pickens, the reports are coming out of camp that he is a much, much more polished receiver this year. So I'm expecting big things from him. The thing about the Steelers that are different from a lot of clubs is they're a winning organization. They have winning culture. They have stability. They've only had how many coaches? 3 in franchise history?
Yep, 3.
3. That is something that is undervalued and should be overvalued. They have that kind of stability for a reason. They've built their organization out properly, and they went and got their guy last year. They said, we don't care. Anybody says small hands or not. We're going for Kenny Pickett. And listen, I'm starting to be a believer in Kenny Pickett, and I think Najee Harris is getting discounted by a lot of people because he was playing behind a line that wasn't that good, and they have upgraded that line. And I think that defense is always going to be in play with Tomlin being a coach, and they got the talent on there. I think they'll be above 9.5 wins. I could get them for 10 wins. I mean, we'll talk about other teams here, but one of these win totals on one of these teams don't belong with that win total, and we'll get to that. But the Steelers, I have no problem taking the over on.
Okay, let's move to the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson, and the Browns 9.5 wins. Oh, you didn't go, Freddie? My fault. Steelers over 8.5.
Listen here. I mean, I'm hearing y'all just because, he's Mike Tomlin. He's never had a losing season. Come on, y'all. We can't just sit here and just give them a rating just because who he is. Let's just be honest. This is a team that has been struggling to find their quarterback since Big Ben. I mean, they have tried Rudolph. They've tried all kind of guys out there as their quarterback position.
What?
Yes, what? Yes, I said they've been struggling to find their quarterback since Big Ben. I mean, that's just facts. I mean, they just finally got
They retired 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
They've been struggling ever since.
They drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round.
I mean, he had flashes, but we don't know if he's truly their number one option. Number 2, we've been waiting for Najee Washington to be this star-studded running back. Najee Harris
last year, just so you know, his rookie year, he was incredible. Najee Harris played last year on a Liz Frank injury, which is why he looks slower. He is completely healthy, and Najee Harris is going to have a great season.
I know. Big Ben.
Najee Harris be a fantasy football value this year, my friend.
I know Big Ben retired 2-3 years ago. I definitely understand that, but I'm just saying they still been searching, just like they've been searching at the running back position. He come with all this hype, but you know what?
I would take Pickett over the last couple of years of Big Ben, to be honest with you.
But you know what? I'm falling for the sauce. Mike Tomlin is a winning coach in the NFL. Never had a losing season. I'm going over as well.
Oh, he just trying to set us up. Listen, I see you wearing that orange. I'm not sure if it's Browns orange or if it's Bengals orange, but we'll start with the Browns, Freddie, and you. Browns 9.5 wins, over, under.
I'm going over. I believe we will see the old Deshaun Watson. I really do believe that. They have a good line to protect him. They have a running game. They have a defense. They have Nick Chubb. He have a number one receiver in Amari Cooper. Only way this team can go under is if the coach screw it up. If the coach screw it up, that's the only reason why. I really believe Deshaun Watson is going to go back into the Houston Texan days. He finally had an offseason to get his body right, to get his game right, to get the timing back right. I'm going over.
You know how they go under, bro? I'm going to tell you this right now. I first of all, I'm going to go second here. I have the Browns over 9.5 too, but barely. I have them at 10-7. But the way they would go under is that cornerback room can never stay healthy. Just so you know, already, Denzel Ward, day-to-day of practice, questionable with an injury. Greg Newsome, day-to-day of practice, questionable with an injury. I'm telling you right now, that Browns secondary, that'll be the decider whether this team goes over or under. I'm going over. But it's never something I would bet. I think they go 9-10 wins. I think this line is set perfectly. I'll put them at 10-7, and I'll go a smidge over. Kyle.
I mean, look, coming into this season, there's like 3 or 4 teams I'm really high on. It's the Panthers, the Bears. The Browns are one of them. I'm going over the 9.5 as well. I'm a big believer in Deshaun Watson letting people know just how good of a quarterback he is in this league. Like, it's some of those Texans teams were, yes, pretty good, maybe like a year or so, but some of them were really bad, and he still found ways to put up big numbers. And when you look at this Browns team where you're dealing with Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, who could be another sneaky addition to a team in the offseason.
Completely agree.
And Nick Chubb, I would probably say, best running back in the league. That offense right there should be too good to not get to 10 wins at least. So I think Browns are over 9.5.
Okay. Finish this up, Freddie. I'm sorry, Godfrey.
So, yeah, I'm over. People have a short memory. They did really well with Baker not too long ago. They went into KC and competed with the Chiefs. They ultimately lost. They went into Pittsburgh and smoked them. That was, that playoff year. When you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. They finally got their quarterback. They went all in. As we know, they sold their souls. That's a whole nother conversation. To the point where Jim Brown's daughter is like, I'm not involved with you guys anymore. And listen, the truth of the matter is systems matter. And Stefanski runs a system that play action is a very important part of in the run game. Okay. Yep. You need a quarterback that could execute the play action, right? And they have that now. They have a lot of receivers. Peoples-Jones is the third receiver. You got Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, has a quarterback that I think is probably the best quarterback he's had in a long time. I'm sorry, Dakota. I'm going with Deshaun over you. And I think that they could do well. I do agree with Gene. Achilles heel can be part of the defense here. You still got David Njoku. Harrison Bryant's a good backup tight end. There's a lot of talent on this team. It's do or die. They guaranteed that whole contract, and I think they can get over 9.5 wins for sure.
And they have a great offensive line. Great offensive line. So it looks like we're all on the same page again. I hope that we get off the same page here. Godfrey, why don't you start us off on the Baltimore Ravens?
Taking the under. Massive under. And listen, Lamar has to stay healthy. Hasn't happened 2 out of 2 years. Okay. Whether he held out or he was actually hurt at the end of the year, for whatever reason, told me all I need to see. All right. I'm sorry, man. And at the end of the day, when you have, that's a high number for over under for me for the Ravens. Okay. Here's the thing. No one wants to admit it. No one wants to say that this is a problem. They designed that offense to be catered to Lamar's strengths. David Culley was a passing game coordinator. He was the reason why they started doing that, helping building the offense with the tight end side of the ball and getting it to the tight end as much as they do. Lamar doesn't throw it to the outside. Until he does that, until he makes that adjustment to his game, it's not gonna work. Brian Flores gave people a blueprint. All right. Remember that Dolphins game? They were 0-7, I believe, and they waxed his ass. Waxed him. They were highly favored. And I need to see from Lamar that he's going to evolve his game and not try to out-athletic everyone. And I don't think he can do that and stay healthy anymore at this point in his career. And I'm not so sure that they're doing that because they said, let's get rid of the offensive coordinator. And I'm sorry. I don't think the offensive coordinator was the problem. That was a BS move by them. They acquiesced to him, and that's fine. That's your guy. You want to do that. But you can't sit here and tell me that you improved year over year. Your problem is still there. Did you make him improve? Because if he's going to be the guy that gets that money, he's the face of the franchise. He's got to have that attitude. And I know I'm going to sound crazy because I'm an Eagles fan here. I want to see that Jalen Hurts type of ascension from him. He's gotten better. He's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. A lot of teams would love to have him, but he still has a glaring weakness. And you can say, hey, man, you got to dribble to the left. And he's not doing that. So I'm going under.
Kyle?
I agree. I'm going under. It's look, they brought in Odell Beckham and all that, which makes you think that they expect Lamar to take that next step as a quarterback, because we see with Odell, if he's not getting targets and all that, he can become kind of a sideshow to everything. And with this Ravens team and how they're trying to project themselves, I don't know if they're ready for what Odell could really wreak on that team if he does not put up numbers. You know, they're going to be run first, and I know everybody's, you know, really excited about the Todd Monken and all that offense and everything, but he was at Georgia. When you think about the Georgia offense, what do you think about? Their run game. Yes, Stetson Bennett could scramble and do all that, but Georgia's always been a run-first, run-heavy type of offense. So I don't really think the offense is going to change dramatically because they switched out Roman for Monken. And if that's the case, then why should we expect any more from this Ravens team? Now, if Lamar comes out week 1 and starts throwing it all around the field, sure, I'll believe in it, but I need to see it first.
Freddie, over under 10.5, Baltimore Ravens.
I have them under as well. And Kyle, you brought up a perfect thing that I was going to say. I was going to bring up the Odell Beckham Jr. thing. Like, we all know the type of receiver he is. He's one of the best route runners in football. What happens when Lamar Jackson can't get this man the football? I've always said that he's not the most accurate passer at the football. Now, we're talking about the best athletes. He's top 2. He's one of the best athletes in football. But we're talking about a quarterback. He's not top 10.
Oh, come on.
He's not. No, he's not top 10.
He's not top 10 quarterbacks, bro?
If we're talking about quarterback.
Are you talking about just throwing the football, or are you talking about the position of quarterback?
Correct.
Well, you could say he's not top 10 thrower of the football, but the position as a whole, he's top 10.
Well, okay. I mean, but other than that, I mean,
I get it. Thrower of the football. I understand what you're saying.
Back end top 10 though?
Yeah. I think he's back end top 10.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if I need somebody to fling that football, and there's going to be times where they're going to need it, can we depend on him? And I remember how Odell Beckham Jr. acted in New York. I remember those goal lines. I remember those days, how he acted. And he had every right to act that way, in my opinion.
Were you a Giants fan back then, though? I'm just checking.
What do you mean back then? What do you mean back then?
I thought you just became a Giants fan last year. That's the rumor on the street? Is that true?
No, Godfrey. After this, I can update you on that, but that's not true. Man, you made me lose my train of thought. But what I'm talking about, though, is I just don't believe, even though he got all these fancy weapons, I just think it's going to be him and Mark Andrews all again, and I just don't think it's going to be that good, and it's not going to be good enough in this division to take number 1.
The Ravens are going to Raven. They're going to do exactly what they do every year. They're going to essentially come off, beat the Texans week 1 by 35 points, and everyone's going to say the Ravens are going to be Super Bowl contenders, and then reality is going to hit. They play in one of the toughest divisions in football. I like the under 10.5 on this team. I hate agreeing with you guys across the board. I would love to argue with you guys tonight.
You about to argue with me?
Todd Monken's system it's funny, right? It's a very spread style system. Lamar Jackson's worst completion percentage and worst quarterback rating is throwing outside the numbers, outside the pocket, and you're trying to spread the system to make him throw more. It's supposed to create space. I don't think he's an accurate enough passer to run Todd Monken's system. I actually think it's a poor system for him. And I think that there's going to be a lot of adjustments. I think that they win 8 games, 9 games. I think they finish last in the division.
You know who had the best system for Lamar Jackson? Kyle Shanahan. A run style football. A run style.
You're talking about the RG3 system from Washington?
Yeah. That's the best version for him.
Kyle Shanahan's got a system for anybody, though. Kyle Shanahan's an offensive genius.
Yeah. Except when it comes to the playoffs, he says we're not going to stock up on backup.
He chokes, bro. He chokes in the playoffs. He's done it 3 times now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's done it 3 times where he's choked in the playoffs. I will never forget watching that 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl. You guys don't remember it. I guarantee you don't. That 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl, the score was 10-10 at the half. And the reason it was 10-10 at the half is because the 49ers got the ball back with 1:53 left on the clock at their own 35-yard line and ran the clock out instead of trying to score versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I almost threw something through my TV. I was like, what are we doing?
He thinks he's reinventing the wheel. I mean, listen.
Go back and look at the Patriots versus Falcons.
I was just going to say that.
You look at that Super Bowl. I'm not kidding with you. After Julio Jones makes that ridiculous catch on the sideline, you could kneel the ball 3 times and win the football game.
Yep.
Why are we dropping back? They got a holding penalty, a sack, and had to punt the ball. Run the ball up the middle 3 times and kick a field goal, and the Super Bowl's over.
Crazy. Just insanity. You know, Odell Beckham, just want to say this about him. I don't care what anybody says. Say it's a hot take. Say it's wrong. He's not a good teammate. I don't care what anybody says. All right? He is not a good teammate. Listen, he went into a veteran club with the Rams. They added him on later. What did he do when he wasn't getting the ball in Cleveland? What did he do in New York when he wasn't getting that ball? When he doesn't feel like he's being used properly? What is he going to do when he's not getting the ball from Lamar and he's wide open down the field? What's he going to do? He's going to bitch. All right? I don't care what anybody says. It's a guarantee. Lock it. You'll hear about it. And people keep saying Lamar didn't have weapons. Rashard Bateman was injured, but I heard how good he was. I guess, Marquise Brown, not good enough. There was a lot of guys that they put in there that I think other quarterbacks that were more pass savvy would have took advantage of. And he did not. I'm sorry, man. There's too many excuses going on for this guy. Like, I want to see him earn that money that he said he deserved and do it. And if I were the Ravens, I wouldn't have blamed them for not signing him. I get why they did, right? That's their guy. They invested a lot of time in him. But man, like you're not winning Super Bowl with Lamar unless he changes his game. I don't care. I'll stand on a ledge if you want to say that.
I agree. We're running up against it. It's 8:18. We normally get the showdown at 8:15. Let's quickly give the Bengals prediction and let's wrap up. I'm under 11.5 on the Bengals. I think they go 10-7. The division is super tough as a whole. I think Joe Burrow is going to need a little time to get acclimated after the calf injury that he has. I think the Bengals are a good football team, but the division is so tough, and I think they all beat each other up. I actually think this division finishes like 11, 10, 9, and 8 wins. I think all these teams are competitive. All of them are battling for the playoffs, which means I don't think any team runs away with it. So I'll go under 11.5 with the Bengals.
I'm hurt. I really, really am. Because I had the same answer. I was hoping you go over. I said, finally, we about to have an argument. I have under as well, just because Joe Burrow's injury. I think that's going to be,
I think they lose week 1 to the Browns. I really believe that. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, 100%. I believe that as well. I just believe this team's. I mean, I don't believe they go 0-5. I believe they go like 2-3, maybe 3-2, something like that. But I just because of Joe Burrow, him not starting, I believe they'll go to a slow start.
Well, he's starting week 1 now. It looks like he's starting week 1.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh.
15 wins now, Freddie?
I was thinking about 16. No,
I love Joe Burrow. I'm a Joe Burrow guy.
I'm still going under.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I find it hard to believe because I think the 11.5 number is the tricky part.
It's a sucker number.
To see a team go 12-5 with this division, I can't see it because a lot of these teams will be really tightly contested. But I'm gonna go against y'all. I think they get to 12.
They have a tough schedule, man.
I know they really do, but it's like
they got road games that obviously Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland. Yeah. Forget those. They play at Kansas City. They play at Jacksonville. They play Buffalo at home. They play at Frisco. They got a lot of really I examine their schedule as a whole, and I think that 11-6 is fair. I think that's where just the 12 wins is tough for me. I can't get to the 12.
They'll dog walk San Francisco. They're gonna dog walk.
That's another projection I have for week 1. I'm book this down. Ready? I'm telling you right now, book it. You can take it to the bookie now. It's going to be my lock of week 1. I got the Steelers upset special knocking off the 49ers in Pittsburgh week 1. Book it. I'm telling you. Take it to your bookie now.
Money?
What?
Am I getting plus money on the money line?
Yes. They're plus 2.5.
Oh, I'm taking it. I love it. I got them at 11 wins too. The Bengals are going to be at 11 wins. I think Vegas has it perfectly pegged to try to sucker you into 12.
Yep.
And I can't go over 11. They're a talented team. They're going to compete in the playoffs. Nothing against them. I think they ultimately win the division. And Joe is that guy. And they got gobs of talent. They kept mixing. I mean, they got all the pieces you need to make a deep run in the playoffs. But I just can't see 12 because this is a brutal, brutal division.
I said it's the Ravens.
Not watching the Eagles game, but I will say that Nakobe Dean stripped Josh Kelly at the 2-yard line, and the Eagles recovered a fumble. They're winning 3-2. Mariota already threw a pick. He's 3 for 9 with a pick. Terrible.
They're winning. Wait, there was a safety?
Yes, the Eagles are winning 3-2. They got the safety. Gainwell got tackled in the end zone, and Mariota is 3 for 9 with a pick. So, any final? Everybody give their prediction on the Bengals.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, gentlemen? We're at 8:22. I hate going over. I try to keep the show as professional as possible, so I apologize. Any final thoughts, Kyle?
Give the people what they want. They like a sideline overtime. Okay, they're still here.
It was a hell of a play for Nakobe Dean or the safety. Tell me Nakobe Dean had the strip sack and it was incredible, and I will leave this show happy. That's what I love to hear. I'm a Nakobe Dean supporter. Give me his jersey. If you guys want to start a GoFundMe, give me the Nakobe Dean jersey. Just kidding. I'm going to buy my own.
You can get into Kelly Green right now, probably. But
I know. It's back ordered, right?
Everything's back ordered in Kelly Green. It's ridiculous. Unless you're like 5 foot, unless you're 5 foot and 80 pounds, you ain't buying anything.
Wayne Curtis just made my whole night. He said Nakobe Dean made a hell of a play on defense.
The only thing I'll say is, look, we're another weekend closer to the regular season starting, and
we got 2 weeks left of this. Sideline to sideline.
I mean, it's one of the best times of the year, opening week of the NFL. So
fantasy football.
Wait. Yeah, you got fantasy football drafts and everything. Like, it's best time of the year right now for me. So that's all I got to say.
Kyle, I cannot wait. The next week we have the NFC East and the AFC East. That'll be our divisions. And then the following week, we have our playoff teams. That's the 2 more pre-gaming the regular season for Sideline to Sideline that we're going to go over. And then we got football every single week. So week 1, I'm missing, though. I'll be in Florida, so I apologize. I will miss week 1.
Madden is back.
Yeah, I just got my PS5. It's literally in the living room. Don't rob me, guys.
Team Xbox. I'm sorry, guys. Xbox.
Godfrey, any final thoughts?
No, nothing except, hey, listen, enjoy football. It's that time of year. Enjoy it and savor it. And I'm beside myself because, listen, all right, NFC East Cowboys winning over Eagles. Okay. On that fantasy line, I'm done. That's not happening. No, Dakota's not doing anything. All right.
Freddie, I just want to thank you for hopping on the show tonight, filling in, man. You're always fun to talk to, always fun talking football with. You said earlier today on Facebook you want to hop on a podcast. Well, here you are, brother. I appreciate you hopping on. I appreciate all the research you did. I could tell you had your homework, you had your notes next to you. It was awesome tonight, man. It was good content tonight. Good content night. Any final thoughts, Freddie?
No, just keep grinding.
Oh, we're going to. We're just getting started. NFL season is here. Well, I am the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That is THWE, the Godfrey, the CEO of Sports Empire Network, Freddie. And we got the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards, signing us out. And this is Sideline to Sideline on Wire to Wire and Sports Empire Network. And we are signing out.